"You shouldn't even be in this room. You're a stain on this carpet." Judith Langford's voice sliced through the air like a blade. She stood tall in her crimson heels, one hand on her hip, the other pointing directly at Anna. The entire executive lounge turned to stare, not out of shock, but out of anticipation, like spectators at a ritual. Anna stood motionless near the espresso machine. Her blouse was simple, hair neatly tied back, hands folded, but her silence seemed to irritate Judith even more. "You think marrying up makes you one of us. That ring is nothing but costume jewelry pretending to matter." Judith sneered, her voice rising with every word. A few giggles erupted from the interns near the windows, phones discreetly lifted, some already recording. Then it happened. Judith grabbed the glass of iced water on the table and flung it straight at Anna's face. The splash echoed in the silent room like a slap. Water dripped from Anna's chin, soaking her collar, but she didn't move. "Not an inch," Judith scoffed. "Guess your dignity washes off that easy." Anna blinked once, just once. No words, no reaction. But behind that stillness, something had shifted. Because on floor 38 of Northvale Global, the floor reserved only for power, Anna had just been marked. And that leads us to the room itself. The 38th floor of Northvale Global was never meant to be seen by just anyone. It was a place built not for work, but for display. A palace of prestige suspended in glass and steel, 37 stories above the city's noise. Up here, silence was power, eye contact was currency, and every misplaced step echoed like an offense. The walls were lined with imported walnut wood, lacquered to a shine so flawless it reflected not just faces, but reputations. Paintings hung like statements, not decoration, Rothko's Pollocks, and a Warhol tucked in the far end of the corridor. Like an inside joke, only the rich understood. The floor beneath Anna's worn shoes was made of obsidian-veined marble, polished daily by a company that charged more per hour than she earned in a week. Every surface was curated, every scent deliberate, subtle hints of jasmine, bergamot, and cold ambition. People didn't just work here, they belonged here, or they didn't. And if you didn't, the space reminded you with every second breath you took, the executive lounge wasn't a break room. It was a social battleground where alliances were forged over espresso and hierarchies were confirmed by who poured the first cup. The machine wasn't just a coffee maker, it was a throne, and Anna. She had no seat. She was tolerated, not respected. Present, but invisible. The kind of person you speak around, not to. Her job title was senior transcriber, but to most of them, she was just the woman in gray, the one whose lunch always smelled too simple, the one who never wore heels, the one who never made eye contact for too long. And yet today, every eye was on her. Not because she asked for it, because Judith Langford, reigning queen of the 38th, had declared her a target. And once Judith picked you, the rest of the pack followed, like blood in the water. Judith wasn't just a manager. She was the gatekeeper of perception. Her approval could grant you momentum. Her disdain could exile you to career death. People laughed at her jokes, whether they understood them or not. They mimicked her style, her perfume, her cadence. Because Judith wasn't merely feared, she was imitated, and she hated Anna. Not because Anna was rude, not because Anna was incompetent, but because Anna didn't try to please her. She didn't play the game, she didn't chase approval. She was still silent, self-contained. And to someone like Judith, who thrived on control, that was dangerous. The water dripping down Anna's blouse didn't just wet the floor. It fractured the illusion that this world was perfect, polished, impenetrable. Even the interns paused their scrolling. The junior associates stopped whispering. Something about the way Anna stood drenched but steady unsettled them, like watching someone walk through fire without flinching. And yet, no one moved. No one offered a towel. No one said a word. Because in a place like Northvale 38, you don't help the fallen. You step over them, and Judith made sure of it, but as Anna's fingers curled slightly at her side, barely perceptible, something shifted, just enough to pull attention, just enough to feel off, and upstairs in an office no one ever entered without an invitation. A notification lit up on a secure device. 3 names, 1 room, a breach, someone was watching, and that someone was already on their way down. Phones came out like weapons, one by one. Screens lit up, not in defense of Anna, but to record her downfall. The sound of Judith's screech still echoed through the executive lounge as digital eyes captured the scene, a woman dripping wet, standing still blinking, once, silent, two, silent. The first video lasted 17 seconds. It caught the splash, the silence and the smirk that curled at the edge of Judith's lips. Someone added slow motion, another layered dramatic music underneath. A junior assistant captioned it, Queen Judith versus the office ghost. Within minutes, the video was posted on North Vale's internal Slack, disguised as a joke. In a meme thread, emoji reactions piled in. Crying, laughing faces, flame icons, gifs of reality, TV stars gasping. By the time Anna sat back down, the whole floor had already seen it. Then it jumped platforms, interns shared it in private Discord servers. Associates posted it to private Instagram stories. It even leaked into a subreddit titled Corporate Comedy Vault, a digital dumping ground for office humiliation. But there was no laughter in Anna's corner of the room. She sat at her desk, pulling tissues from her drawer, dabbing at the water on her keyboard. Not her face, her blouse stuck to her back, her hair clung to her jawline, but her posture remained perfectly upright. She opened her laptop, logged in, typed a few words, then paused. The cursor blinked. Waiting outside her glass cubicle, the comments continued. "She'll quit by lunch," someone muttered. "Let's hope I want her desk. It's by the window," said another. Judith, meanwhile, had resumed holding court in the lounge, legs crossed, coffee in hand. "She's lucky I'm generous," she quipped loudly. "I could have filed harassment for subjecting me to that outfit." Laughter followed, like trained birds responding to a whistle. But Anna, she didn't cry, didn't shake, didn't even frown. Instead, she minimized her screen, opened a secure folder, entered a password. No one in that office would have imagined she knew. 3 documents opened, legal financial founding agreements. At the bottom of one, Anna C. Monroe, co-founder. On the 39th floor, above even Judith's gilded reach, a device pinged. A facial recognition flag had matched an internal alert. The image, a still from the viral clip, Anna's drenched face captured mid-blink. The status code. Amber A protocol initialized. One reserved for internal breaches. One that hadn't been activated in over 5 years. Someone was watching. Back downstairs, a younger intern hesitantly approached Anna. "Are you okay?" she whispered. Anna turned to her eyes. Soft. "I'm fine," she said. But her voice wasn't trembling. It was calm, balanced like a still lake in the center of a storm. The girl nodded, more shaken than Anna herself. Then something shifted. The laughter faded, the noise slowed. Judith's smirk didn't vanish, but it faltered. Because Anna hadn't run, hadn't shouted, hadn't wept, she was still there. Still. And in a world that moved fast to crush, to mock, to trend, stillness was power, not the loud kind, not the branded kind, but the kind that breathes beneath your skin. Ancient intentional waiting, and upstairs behind a door with no nameplate, that stillness had become motion. The lounge was quieter now, but it was the kind of quiet that comes before a storm. The air had shifted. Something hung heavy and electric, like the seconds before lightning. But Judith didn't notice. Or perhaps she didn't care. She leaned against the marble bar, laughing with a few department heads who were still too afraid or too foolish to stop echoing her cruelty. Her voice was too loud, her laugh too sharp, and every word she said sliced the room thinner. "Honestly," she said, lifting her espresso, "if this company had real standards, we'd fumigate this floor every time she walked through." The room didn't laugh as loudly as before. A few forced chuckles, some awkward glances. The mob was faltering. Anna stood up. No one saw her rise at first, but somehow, everyone noticed the shift. She wasn't fast. She didn't stomp. She just stood, straight-backed, slow, graceful, a small towel in her hand, dabbing gently at the last wet spots on her collar. It was as if she were wiping away more than water, as if she were shedding a mask or reclaiming something long buried. Judith caught the movement. "Oh, look, the ghost is evolving," she spat. "Careful, sweetheart. Don't let your dignity drip onto the carpet. We just had it steamed." No response. Anna just looked at her. Not with anger, not even sadness. She looked at Judith the way a doctor might look at a disease, curious, detached, already diagnosing its end. And then Ding the elevator. Every head turned. Time itself seemed to bend around that soft mechanical chime, and out stepped a man. Not just any man. Alaric Monroe, CEO, founder myth in a suit. He didn't walk, he arrived. His footsteps echoed on marble like slow thunder. People froze mid-step, conversations cut off. Mid-word. He didn't glance at Judith or the crowd. His eyes went to one place, Anna. He crossed the room without hesitation. Each step a verdict. When he reached her, he placed a hand gently on her back, the kind of touch that said, "I see you. I've always seen you." Then he turned. His voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. "Everyone who recorded that video," he said, calm as a closed door pack. "Your desks." Gasps cracked through the silence. Someone dropped their phone. Another spilled coffee. Judith stood straighter. "Alaric, wait. You're making a mistake. This isn't how we handle." He didn't blink. "Judith Langford," he said, "your contract is terminated, effective immediately. Security will escort you to HR." Her mouth opened, closed. Opened again. You can't fire me. You need board review." "This is unlawful." Alaric finally looked at her. "You think I don't know how this building breathes? I built it." He didn't yell, but the weight of his words dropped like iron. He turned to the room. "This culture, this rot, it ends. Today." Silence total. Then gently he nodded to Anna. They turned together, walked side by side, past frozen faces, past the espresso machine that had once been a throne, past Judith, and into the elevator. As the doors began to close, Judith's voice pierced the quiet. "Who the hell does she think she is?" No one answered because in the absence of noise, the truth had begun to echo. And upstairs in a locked vault only 2 people had access to. A document was being reviewed. It bore a signature, Anna C. Monroe. But what came next would prove that signature wasn't just legal, it was foundational. The elevator doors slid shut with a whisper. Inside, Anna didn't speak, neither did Alaric. But the silence between them wasn't cold, it was lived in, like old wood that had learned to carry weight without creaking. The kind of silence built over time through mutual respect and long-forgotten battles. They didn't rise, they descended just 1 floor from 38 to 37. But in that moment, it felt like crossing through years, through a memory neither had spoken aloud in a very long time. When the doors opened, they stepped into a hallway. No one used anymore. The carpet was plusher, the lights dimmer, no security camera in sight. Just a matte, black door with no nameplate, no handle, only a fingerprint pad. Alaric didn't move. Anna stepped forward. She pressed her thumb. Click. The door unlocked. Inside the room felt like another world. Shelves lined with files, binders, archive-grade servers humming softly. A digital fireplace glowed on one wall. It smelled faintly of cedar and old paper. This was not an office, it was a vault of beginnings. Anna walked past the central table and stopped at an oak cabinet. She pulled it open. Inside documents thick with history, legal agreements. Original branding guides, equity breakdowns, employee frameworks. At the bottom of the stack, the founding documents. She placed them on the table, her fingers moving with quiet precision. On the top page under the name Alaric Monroe was another signature. Elegant measured. Slightly faded with time, Anna Celeste Monroe. Alaric stepped beside her. "She was always here," he said quietly. "I just never thought the world needed to know." Anna looked at him, not with blame, but with something deeper. A kind of tiredness that only comes from being overlooked for too long. "I didn't mind being in the background," she said. But the silence turned into erasure. He nodded. "I let it happen." "No," she replied. "We both did." Her hand moved to a locked drawer beneath the cabinet. She unlocked it with a tiny brass key from a chain around her neck. Inside, an external hard drive. Sleek black. No label. "This has the original wireframe. The early messages. Every name on the first hiring list, including Judith's." Alaric's jaw tightened. She wasn't always like that. She was. Anna said softly. "We just didn't see it yet." She placed the drive into her coat pocket, turned toward the exit. "I'm not here to burn this place down," she said, "but I'm done protecting people who've forgotten where it all came from." Alaric didn't argue. He simply walked behind her like he once did 10 years ago when they were building this company on vision, code, and trust. At the elevator, she paused. "You know what this means?" she said. He nodded. "They'll come for you." "I know. Are you ready?" Anna met his eyes. "I was ready the day we chose the name North Vale. And when the elevator opened again, this time to the lobby, every eye turned. She was no longer the ghost. She was the architect walking back into her cathedral. The boardroom at North Vale was known for one thing: silence. Not the respectful kind, but the sharp, razor-thin kind. The kind that carved out egos and tested loyalties. The kind where every seat was earned in bloodless battles of power. And for the last 10 years, that silence had belonged to men with polished shoes and calculated smiles. But today, silence belonged to her. Anna stood at the head of the long obsidian table. No podium, no microphone, just presence. She wore no jewelry, no title pinned to her blouse, just gray. The same color they had mocked her for. But now the room held its breath. The entire board was present. Division heads, legal advisors, HR directors. Even the founding CFO had flown in from Boston. Every screen was off, every phone put away. Because when someone you thought was a ghost starts speaking, you listen. Anna looked up. "Most of you don't know me," she began, voice clear and unshaken. "But I know every corner of this company, because I helped build it." A shift in the room. No one moved, but the energy changed. A few brows furrowed. One chair squeaked slightly. She continued unfazed. "For 10 years I stayed in the background. Not because I lacked ambition, but because I believed in something more than credit. I believed in contribution." She walked slowly along the table, passing faces. She once interviewed, trained, supported, from behind the curtain. "I thought if the work was good enough, recognition didn't matter. But silence over time stops being humility. It becomes complicity." A large screen behind her flickered on. Document after document appeared. The original founding charter, signed Anna C. Monroe. The first employee handbook, written by ACM. The ethics framework. The conflict mediation system still used today. A voice near the back whispered, "My onboarding module." She wrote that Anna didn't stop. "I don't want applause, I don't want a headline, I want clarity, I want correction." She paused. "And I want protection. For the people like me who are overlooked, unseen, unheard." A photo appeared. Anna 10 years ago, seated beside Alaric at the very first team meeting. She was smiling, invisible even then. Someone near the head of the table stood up. "I remember this," he murmured. "Why didn't we?" But the question didn't finish, because the answer was already hanging in the air. Judith had trained them to look past women like her. Anna walked back to her place. "I will not demand control. I don't need titles. But if North Vale is to become what we dreamed of, then the truth must be part of its foundation." The final slide read, "North Vale was never built by one man, and it cannot be rebuilt by silence." No one clapped, not because it wasn't powerful, but because it was too powerful to interrupt. One by one, people stood, not to protest, but to acknowledge. Even the CFO placed a hand to his chest and gave the smallest nod. Anna didn't bow, didn't smile. She picked up her coat, nodded once to the room, and walked out, leaving the weight of truth behind her, like a stone in still water, sending ripples through the structure she had quietly shaped. Anna didn't return to the boardroom the next day. She didn't need to, because everything she had built had already begun to move. It started with a meeting. Not dull, loud, not public. Just a quiet 8 a.m. video call between compliance, HR, and legal. No headlines, no warning. The topic. The culture clause. Buried deep in North Vale's code of conduct was a protocol written over a decade ago by a woman no one used to acknowledge. It had never been used. Until now, the clause had one purpose: to protect the invisible, to correct the rot before it reached the roots, to purge, not punish. It only required one condition to activate patterned misconduct. Substantiated by silence, Judith had triggered every line of it. Within 48 hours, 3 department heads were asked to resign, not because Anna demanded it, not because Alaric declared it, but because the system she created finally unmuted did what it was always designed to do. The HR logs, anonymous surveys, overlooked microaggressions, internal complaints all aligned like quiet threads of truth, weaving a case undeniable. Judith's name vanished from the company directory. Her office emptied out by end of week. A single polished memo was sent to staff. Effective immediately, Judith Langford has transitioned out of her role. We thank her for her service. No drama, no gossip, just a closed door that no one reopened. But people noticed. The temperature inside. Northvale shifted. Junior analysts began speaking up in meetings. Assistants stopped apologizing for asking questions. Meetings started on time. Interruptions dropped. The tone changed. And in the lunchroom, someone made coffee for the intern first. Just because Anna didn't receive applause, no interviews, no headline like "Woman Who Built," company, corrects it silently. She received only one thing: an envelope, cream paper, no return address, inside a single note from Alaric. The silence you designed taught us how to listen again. Thank you for building us a conscience. She read it once, then folded it, placed it back in the envelope. Weeks passed. The ethics framework Anna drafted quietly reintroduced under her full name. The first employee handbook, now with her initials on the footer. Her policies weren't just reinstated, they were honored, not because of revenge, but because clarity leaves no room for denial. And one afternoon in a small cafe across from North Vale, Anna sat by the window. Same gray coat, same silent calm. She didn't sit in the center, didn't make eye contact with the passers-by. She stirred her tea, slowly gazing out into a world she had once shaped, and had just helped reshape. A young intern stepped in, tall, nervous, clutching a badge. He spotted her, froze, then approached cautiously. "Ms. Monroe, I read your onboarding module. The one from 2013. Anna looked up, blinked once, softly curious. "I just wanted to say, it made me feel like I could breathe, like I belonged." She smiled gently. "You do." He nodded, almost bowing, then left, leaving behind something unspoken, but understood. Because at North Vale, the ground no longer trembled under fear. It stood on a foundation designed by someone who never needed the spotlight to make a difference. Anna didn't throw a party. She didn't call a press conference, she simply packed her things. One folder, one pen, one gray coat. She walked past the front desk like any other day. No headlines, no fanfare. But those who saw her stood a little straighter, because they knew she didn't need a title to be remembered. She didn't need a corner office to shape what came next. As she stepped outside, the winter air hit her cheeks, cold, honest. Across the street, someone watched from inside North Vale. Not with regret, but with quiet respect. Anna didn't look back, because what she had built would stand long after she was gone. She reached the sidewalk. A child was struggling to close his backpack. She knelt, helped him zip it up, smiled, then stood again and walked. No speeches, no justice parade, just stillness. They say silence is weakness, that if you don't speak up, you'll be erased. But Anna proved something else. She proved that silence, when rooted in integrity, is not absence. It's depth. It's strength. It's the kind of power that doesn't seek permission to exist. Judith shouted. The others laughed. Cameras rolled. But in the end, it wasn't noise that changed North Vale. It was one woman who never needed to scream to be heard. She taught them that you can be underestimated, ridiculed, dismissed, and still carry the blueprint of everything. That titles fade, but substance stays. That you can build something lasting, even if no one sees your hands doing it. Her name was almost erased. Now it's carved into policy, into architecture, into memory. Because true power doesn't come from being loud. It comes from being undeniable. And when a woman like Anna walks through fire without asking for water, the world doesn't just take notice, it takes notes. If this story stayed with you, if Anna reminded you of someone you know, or someone you once were, then maybe it's time to reclaim something of your own, not through noise, but through clarity, through dignity, through action. Because somewhere right now, there's another Anna, still silent, still waiting. And maybe she needs to know she's not alone. If this story meant something to you, share it. Leave a comment. Tell us where your voice is. Because silence isn't the absence of power. It's the beginning of it.